nice to see you all this fine Friday morning. It is time to wrap up for the week, so we'll talk about the details here as we go. Let's take a moment to remember the risk disclosure involved in trading. So read through this, it's all good stuff. Live sessions every day, guys, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific time. That is 9 a.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. UK. We have also been doing live UK sessions every day this week, and they've gone pretty well. We've had a little bit, I think we only had one really active day for the UK Open, and then it's been kind of quiet this week, surprisingly. Markets have been moving at kind of random times, so we'll talk all about that. Anyway, anybody that would like to have a free trial to the trade group, anybody watching this recording, just head on over to Day Traders FX, click on free trial, or excuse me, click on join, and you can come right down here to the bottom area and click on start today, and that will give you your free trial for 1 week. We'd love to have you test drive us, see what you think. Join us in the live trade group. You'll get email and SMS text alerts. You'll get all kinds of good stuff with that free trial. And there's no major obligation there either, so it's not one of those, sorry you forgot to cancel 5 minutes before it billed and you're out of luck. You know, it's nothing like that. So we're here to just let you have a test drive. If you like it, great. If it doesn't work for you, your schedule, whatever, no problem. Cancel it, no worries. Okay, we have two memberships, excuse me. One is video and one is live sessions, email, text alerts, all that good stuff. They are separate memberships. This one is kind of the on-demand membership for those that have unpredictable or busy schedules, and this one is for those that can make those live sessions and want to get those text and email alerts and so on. You can get both of these in our annual membership. So let's get you hooked up on that annual membership. It includes both of those. You save literally about 50% of the cost. Worth it. Well worth it. Here's our on-demand library. It is updated every single day with our weekly watch list, our daily recaps, our weekly recaps, everything. There's lots and lots of trade ideas coming through here. Just to make it clear on the video library, when we say a daily recap, it's not like this is what we did, too bad you missed it. It's this is what we want to do. Here's a recap of what we covered in our session this morning, and pretty much every time you have a chance to get in, if we have any pending orders, by the time the video is posted, you'll have a chance to still take that order and probably have plenty of time to get into it throughout the day. So the recap, I want to make sure that daily recap doesn't come across as something that's already happened. It's our analysis and our trade ideas for the day. Okay. Members area, we have a very active members area, lots of stuff popping through here, members from all over the world chatting and sharing trade ideas and attending our live sessions. We have a watch list that we post every single week that is very active, and we update it on a regular basis, and most of these trades we just keep an eye on throughout the week, and we update them, we take them down as they happen and so on. We've got our chat section, a whole bunch of great stuff here. Remember the free stuff, which is always great. I hope that 100% of people watching this video and attending this live session are in the free chat. This is a great little area to just talk about some trade ideas and things we're doing. If you don't like chat platforms, give this one a try. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. We don't, it doesn't go crazy. It's not overbearing, but it is very informative and a great area to connect with other traders. bit.ly/DTFX free chat. Website, daytradersfx.com, on demand. Support, any questions you have, you can email us at support@daytradersfx.com. Twitter, daytradersfx. Okay guys, let's get down to the details. Chris, feel free to chime in with me. We are not going to cover, as Chris and I talked this morning and as we kind of discussed with all of you all, we're not going to talk about any future analysis. We're going to talk about what we did and how everybody did this week. How did your guys' week go? And that is a great picture because I could really use a pile of ice. That's kind of another thing they don't really seem to have out here much is ice. Nobody has ice in any drinks or anything. It's iceless. It's just iceless. So anyways, how did everybody's week go? We had some short-term trades. And we had some good stuff happen. There was definitely some good things that that went down, and that is fantastic. Tell me that's coming from a Is that a Batman reference? Because I would really appreciate that. That's hilarious. First day, okay. Oh, Top Gun. Oh, Iceman. Man, I totally missed that. Totally missed that. Oh, man. So, Frank, you listened, first day you listened to the webinar Euro session in the car on the way home, sitting in traffic. Okay. Well, very good. Hopefully it was somewhat informative, Frank. Always glad to have you in with us. So let's talk about that, guys. In this recap of everything, first of all, those that were able to attend the UK sessions, it's of course a little tiny bit of a bummer that this was the first full week of UK sessions. I've been chiming into the chat and doing a couple of things the last week or so, and and sending out a few alerts and so on. But we had official sessions Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then this morning, of course, Friday, for the UK Euro session, and it was probably the quietest week we've seen in the London session in quite a while. So it was really, really slow. The only day we had some movements was all those pound pairs spiked, I think like Wednesday, something in there, but otherwise it's been a little bit quiet. It's been kind of slow. We're kind of in that last week of August, and everything seems to just be going a little bit on the slow side for the London session. And it actually seems like we're getting a pretty decent amount of movement during the Asian session, and the U.S. session's kind of moving a little bit as well. So so London's been quiet, although it typically is very active. This is not that uncommon. We're in summer trading. We've been talking about this in the group for quite a bit over the last several weeks, that we're just looking for short-term trades, quick movements, and so on. And they're just happening whenever they happen, whether it's U.S. Open, London Open, Asian Tokyo Open. It's just kind of, they're happening. They're popping up. We're grabbing some short-term trade. But how have you guys done? How has the week treated our wonderful members of Day Traders FX? What have you guys thought about the whole situation? How has that worked out? Did you guys, has everyone made money this week? Has nobody made money this week? We've had some profitable trades in the group. Who has made some dollar bills? Who's made pips? Any pips? Do we have any pip makers for the week? Tiny loss overall. Marcia, darn it, I hate to hear it, but still a great week. Okay, I appreciate the positive outlook. Positive outlook. Okay, how about anyone else? Did anybody, good, Andrew, excellent, excellent. Lots of pips, very good. We like to hear that. Always like to hear it. Good pipping. Who else? Who else has traded? Who else has had some good weeks? Yeah, the pound Swiss franc was a real nice trade. That was one we talked about a bit. We had those 4 missed consecutive daily pivot points. It was pretty good. Frank, long Aussie dollar, even if you were sitting in traffic. Okay, good. Very good, very good. Okay, I like to hear it. 2 trades this week. That's okay, Damien. That's okay. That's all right. Loss on pound dollar, still in euro krone. All right, not a nice week. So a little bit mixed. It was a little bit of a mixed week. We had some people that have made some money, some break evens, and some losses. Kind of a mixed week. We had between last week and this week, we had, I think most of our short-term trades happened last week. And then we had, towards the end of last week, and we had a couple of short-term trades this week that hit right in the beginning, but 70 pips on euro krone. Okay, good. So it was a little bit mixed. You can tell some members have made money, some were break even, some have just taken a very few amount of trades, and that's always interesting. So we've been looking, at a couple of trades. This pound dollar is one that we've been, trading this week and trying to do some stuff with. I know, for example, in the London session this week, we had a pound Aussie trade that worked out very, very nicely. What we ended up doing on this trade was selling a little break right here. It was right back in this area. We talked about, if we have a breakout, let's sell it. So we had a little break. We sold the pair. It ended up spiking up, and we said, if this hits 7,400, let's sell it again. and you can see that it hit 74 like 13, and so we shorted it again, and it made it all the way back down and turned out to be a pretty nice little winner. That was a London session trade, and that worked out very, very nicely. So so pound Aussie was a good trade this week. The pound dollar definitely gave us some grief. Pound dollar, we had one trade in this one back here. We were kind of selling the break of the consolidation. You can see it spiked up, and then it just kept, just came right back down. It spiked up again and came right back down. And so so that was kind of the one losing trade we had this week, was this spike up. We put some stops above this high. We risked pretty minimal on this one, but the pound dollar still looks good and clean, and I want to jump into this thing again. We talked about this morning in the London session, just trading the break of this trend line, and you can see that that it did end up breaking. We had a nice open below the trend line. It broke. It moved. Not a ton, but it did give a little bit of activity. Moved down about 25 to 30 pips, and then just pulled back and went right back up again. I think that we've got a nice little head and shoulders pattern. So if anybody is in this trade or took this trade, this little neckline break is looking pretty cool for just a nice little continuation on downward towards daily pivots and towards some of this support here. So looks like a pretty nice little head and shoulders pattern that we have there. It's short term for sure, but anyone that's in this from earlier this morning or thinking about getting into it, let's watch that and let's see how that plays out. Remember, this week we have Yellen this weekend. Yellen and all the central bankers are at Jackson Hole. So we'll probably see a little bit of volatility coming up with some of the dollar pairs, so just kind of keep that in mind. But it's been okay. So pound Aussie worked great in our London session. Pound dollar did not work so well. Euro dollar also worked very well in the London session. Whatever day this was, probably Tuesday, we took this trade in the London session right here. It gave us a nice little break, nice little retest. We ended up getting into this around 113.30, and you can see that it ran down very nicely from that 113.30 area. We had a total of about 85 pips that it ran down, and it's kind of running up and consolidating and hopefully giving us another trade coming up. So, this one was good for an easy 50 pips, if not, the full 75 to 85 pips that it ended up moving. It consolidated down here for a good little while. So that was another great trade we had in the London session. And then we just had a whole bunch of kind of watching and waiting and looking for something, looking for something to confirm and give us some trades. But we had a couple good trades from our live London sessions this week, so hopefully you guys are able to get in and attend and make some money with us. So so that's kind of a little bit of what we've been looking at. Chris, what are your
unmuted
week treated you? What are your thoughts about this fine week in August?
Yeah, I'd say pretty much the last week. I mean, we have what, 3 days next week where we wrap up the month on the 31st on Wednesday. So there could be some some strange activities going into the weekend. I don't know if I mean, we've seen central bankers that are so tentative and so cautious with everything they say. Yellen is supposed to speak, I think, today in 45 minutes or so. She's due to speak at Jackson Hole. And I'm sure there's other headlines that are going to be kicking around. I mean, I was driving around yesterday. Everything on Bloomberg is all about the Jackson Hole Symposium. So, I think that's why we also saw this tightening of prices, yesterday and today, like towards the end of yesterday or, afternoon, and then pretty much all today during the London session, we've seen not really a lot of movement. So I think a lot of that's due to just kind of sitting and waiting. I think, again, Yellen doesn't move the market. So for the markets to like freeze up while she is ready to take the microphone, she doesn't drop things, headlines that are going to create all this wild movement. But nevertheless, prices got pretty tight. As far as the week goes, like I said, I mean, pound Swiss was my favorite trade. I'm glad that that one worked out for anybody that took it. It was hard to get a group trade on that one because it just kind of slid right through an aggressive trend line on a 5-minute chart. But again, like we will, I mean, honestly, we will keep saying this for the group, for ourselves. If you see a third pivot or a fourth pivot, you just take the trade. If you see that 15-minute EMA setting up for 400 plus bars, you just take the trade. So we were looking at the bar counts. It wasn't quite high enough, but we had pivot alignments, which were great. And that pound slide that happened, I think, on Wednesday just worked out across the board. And then the dollar peso, you know, I wish the spread wasn't so bad on that one, because the dollar peso is about 2,000 pips lower than where we actually look to enter it. You know, we sold it around 18.5 or 18.52. It is now flirting with kind of that trend line that we really want to see some clean confirmation with. I might end up looking at a trade on the peso, or if I don't really, you know, feel like placing an order today, if, you know, oh, Yellen, or I don't know, then just if it clears the hurdles coming into next week, I'm hoping that we just have some clean continuation to the downside on the dollar peso. Euro krone is starting to make its way down towards that shorter term neckline around 9.2300. And if we clear that level, Jared, if you just want to, show that there, perfect. So yeah, it's pretty easy to see on the 4-hour chart. We have a little head and shoulders right where Jared has all those trend lines. Go back into that 4-hour chart. So there's the big head and shoulders that obviously that's why we're in this trade. And then there's the more intermediate, you know, kind of bearish formation head and shoulders that if we break below 9.23, I think that is the confirmation that we can start adding, getting that confirmation to push this thing lower, make some new lows, go after our symmetry targets. And, you know, we'll really be enjoying this trade once we get below that level. So watching that very closely, it started to kick our way this morning. I was kind of liking that P&L. The dollar peso is starting to flirt with that trend line and coming back to this week's pivot. But for the most part, I mean, my trading this week, I was experimenting with a few things in short-term trading, and that's promising. I'm going to keep grinding away on that. And for the most part, I mean, dollar peso was a straightforward trade for about 800 to 1,000 pips. It slid down a couple thousand total, but it's, you know, again, sometimes that's a trade that you can't put it at break even. You know, when it goes from 4:59 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m., the spread goes from, you know, 30 pips to 300 pips. And you can't really put a stop loss in, because if you do, the brokers will knock you out of that trade. So, you know, we took our short-term profits and enjoyed it. And it took, I don't know, a few hours to finally hit that daily pivot from, I think, Wednesday. But pound Swiss was great. Dollar peso was great. And I'm still liking Euro krone a lot. Like Craig said with the New Zealand CAD, and like I keep talking about with those New Zealand dollars, I'm watching that thing so much. And Jared, would you mind going to the New Zealand US dollar, and then we'll go to the pound New Zealand. So New Zealand US dollar, it still just looks so clean for a big fat rising wedge. You know, and so I have that trend line that Jared just drew on the screen. I had that trend line with an alert where I'm looking for price to close below it. And, you know, if it just keeps messing with those highs, okay, fine. I mean, I would stop looking at it as a rising wedge if it literally goes another 50 to 100 pips higher. But even that trend line that we just have is such a clean trend line for this thing to fall and slide, you know, even 100 pips for us. And I think that, you know, across the board, if that move happens, we're going to see a lot of New Zealand dollar weakness, which we can jump in and exploit and enjoy. So New Zealand dollar is a really clean setup. I think that right side of the trend line, that wedge break would be fantastic. Can you go to the pound New Zealand?
Let's do it.
And keep it on the 4-hour chart, because we're still watching that EMA very closely, right? Keep in mind that the numbers on that EMA are exactly what we want them to be. And we have all sorts of right side of the trend line activity on pound New Zealand. So even though that trend line is broken on, if you go kind of zoomed in there, it looks like, oh, we're getting another trend line break. Honestly, what I think is happening here on the pound New Zealand is we're just bouncing off of that support level again around 7,900, 7,950. If you go to a 1-hour chart, you can essentially see like a 200 pip range. For this entire week has been a range on this pound New Zealand. Look at that. All those lows, all those highs, it looks really nice to just, if 79.50 or so holds, then don't be surprised to come right back up to 8,100 and, you know, hopefully make that rally to the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart. But, you know, all that being said, if it does continue to slide, that's fine. And we can look for that support level again. We can look for that kind of triple bottom appearance. We can look for a bounce off the right side of a trend line. So there's, again, because it's a 4-hour indicator, I mean, we're looking at this setup based on a 4-hour chart. We need a price pattern. We need trend line breaks. And so we want to find the area that's clean enough to trade. And right now, I mean, this week's been pretty messy for the pound New Zealand overall. There hasn't been a lot of positive traction. But at the same time, if we see support resistance holding, it's either going to hold these lows around 79.50, and we've got several hundred pips to the upside. I mean, that EMA is sitting at where? 83.50 or so, Jared? Can you check that?
Yeah, about 83.70.
Perfect. Yeah, so I mean, there's clearly some nice pips to the upside, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Jared, do you think that EMA is just going to stop price cold, or is it just? I think that's going to be like, yeah, see you later, and it's just going to go right through it. There's upside potential on this thing that I think if we start making our way higher, I would look across the board and see what's the New Zealand US dollar doing, what's the New Zealand CAD doing, and this would be the one pair that probably has the most volatility. And if we see a kind of a barrage of New Zealand dollar weakness, this would be one to kind of set in a trade, put your stop loss at plus 10, and hopefully you're up well over 50 to 100 pips, and it just never looks back. And all of a sudden, 3, 4, 5 days later, you're up 500 pips. We know it can do it. I mean, we've seen this pair move 500 to 700 pips to 1,000 pips in a week, and it's really not that difficult when it makes its mind up. So we're just trying to gauge it, and I think the gauge is that New Zealand US dollar. If it breaks that rising wedge, I think we've got a nice basket type trade of a New Zealand dollar weakness that we can expect. So.
Well, and I think it's interesting, pound pairs, I think once they pick up a little bit of momentum, they're going to go kind of like crazy. I think we're going to get probably at least a decent retracement, maybe not a massive recovery, but a decent retracement. And I think on a pair like this, on New Zealand, for example, that decent retracement could be good for 1,000 pips, probably 1,000 to 1,500 pips. We've got that nice, beautiful target right here. Weekly, daily, monthly overlap pivot at 195. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it really could be tremendous. I mean, just so much potential on those pounds. But again, we understand that we also need to use our trend lines, use our price patterns, use something where it's not just, hey, let's guess the bottoms on the pound crosses, So
totally.
But it's close. It's close.
We're sitting at a pretty we've got a pretty clean double bottom here on this pound New Zealand too, right? That's as far back as my data goes. So we're just sitting right at that low. So I think it'll be definitely interesting once these guys pick up a little bit of momentum and start to scoot. So we'll be ready. A couple of members have asked, throughout the last several weeks as we've had all this Brexit, craziness and pound craziness. How do we, we don't want to miss the pound movement because it's probably going to be big. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not big. Maybe it's just kind of slow and steady, and that's where I think our price patterns are going to come in. We get we get clean price patterns, and we'll start to just get into these trades, scale into them, add positions, and we'll be, if I always say in trading, if you just do things correctly, you get lucky sometimes. And it's not like we're going to get lucky like we didn't mean to take a trade or whatever, but if we're just watching what we watch, which is our price patterns and our technicals, and that we see that everything is moving cleanly and we take a trade, I think the pound New Zealand has the most potential for being the lucky trade for us, where we, like Chris said, lock in 5 or 10 pips, and maybe it runs, 100 pips without retracing at all, and we're able to, really lock in on a position and just let it ride. So we'll be ready for this. We'll just be trading it as it sets up and plays out. But
I think that's good, and I like that there is that kind of cross reference. I mean, look, the DXY, the dollar, trying to peg the dollar for clean movement this year that's probably been the toughest battle. I think the dollar crosses have been so messy. I mean, look, when was the best movement that we had out of the euro dollar? We took a clean break at 1,300. That I don't even remember how long ago that was. That was months ago. And then the other high volatility movement on the dollar was during Brexit. But for the most part, it's just been really, really difficult to trade dollar crosses. And anyway, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm just saying, as it's been messy, we can't necessarily expect all of a sudden things to change, but keep in mind we also are transitioning from summer trading to fall. And so you want to see price patterns come to life, you want to see trends come to life. Well, we're probably a week or so away from all of a sudden, wow, look at this really start to move. And as far as New Zealand dollar sliding and weakness, I mean, there's so many pairs that are set up for that. The Euro Krone, I still think larger time frame wise, that is a beautiful pattern. And then, having some of the pound pairs looking for a reasonable recovery, or even somehow if they make fresh lows again, like that is just going to cement a further level of disagreement on a bigger time frame that I think can become very tradable. So as far as the expectation go, what I like to do coming into kind of these last quarters or going into the fall is, and also I didn't even mention the yen pairs. How many yen pairs have yearly pivots up above, significantly higher? All of them.
That's right.
They've literally slid from January to August downwards. And I mean, if we see another big central bank intervention where it gets the markets excited, we might see another onslaught of thousands of pips of Japanese yen weakness. So, I mean, there's still plenty of potential out there. And the yens line up nicely with a big yearly pivot. But I also know that your best trade on a yen is getting a clean trend line break, looking for a price pattern on a massively big time frame like a daily or a weekly, and then just holding it open or putting in a trade and going to plus 10 pips and walk away, and hopefully it never retraces and all of a sudden you're up 2, 3, 4, 500 pips. So anyway, I think across the board that basket's setting up with some technical weakness in mind. But the markets might be looking for more of a cue from the central bank of or at least the BOJ, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But again, I think we've done a really good job of surviving, right? We've done a good job of not losing money. We've done a good job of staying short term over the last couple months and still having some really good trades. Like we talked about yesterday or this week, August has been good to us, surprisingly good to us. And September should be a lot better. We should find some trends. We should find some good pushes and kicks for us.
Yeah, and I would say it's been we had a couple of good trades this week, and that's been good. And and it's been a little choppy. As we saw some members, were kind of break even or a small loss, and some are up a good little chunk, and kind of a little mix across the board. I think this week's just been kind of it's been a little bit of a tricky week, but it's been okay. But I feel like definitely in the even medium term, over the last 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, everybody that's been with us, and following our trades should be, nicely in profit. We've just been able to find, sometimes we're really patient with trades and we'll just wait, and we have fewer trades certain weeks than other weeks, but overall, I think we've been very consistent on just finding good areas to trade and good things to get into, and they've worked out really nicely. And we've identified a couple of high probability trades that we love to take, and as those set up, like last week, how we had the pound CAD and the dollar CAD and the pound Aussie and the euro pound, and good heavens, what else? And they all just kind of set up and they all hit last week. We had like 4 or 5 short-term 15-minute trades. Yeah. Last week that just played out beautifully, and and those we'll have it like that. We'll have 1 or 2 or 6 in a week, and then we won't have any for a week, and then but we seem to get plenty of those every month, and those are just absolutely the most high probability short-term trades you can take. So if you're a short-term trader, that's the one to be jumping on. If you're a long-term trader, that's the short-term trade to experiment with. It's totally fantastic. So we have plenty of those coming.
Yep.
Hopefully in the next few days.
Yeah, and the goal for those too, I mean, that you and I have talked about is just to get better at those trades. To get not better at them. I mean, we know how to trade them, but get better at the trade size. We know that they're good trades. It's trying to find that balance of, I really want to kind of up the trade size here, knowing that I'm not exposed for too long. Make some decent amount of money on this because they typically give us 20, 30, 40, 50 pips, and it's always I've had those lessons from my trading of, man, left side of the trend line can be a scary place, but then I also have to remember, but I was usually doing it on a 4-hour chart. Now the left side of the trend line on a 5 or 15-minute chart should not really concern me, not nearly as much, because the timings, the patience has been, literally hundreds of trades different as far as just like, okay, I know what I need to wait for, and I just think we're calling those trades pretty pretty well as far as the timing and looking at what trend line to use. And I mean, my gosh, if you're waiting for 3 pivots to line up, come on. I mean, price is clearly going to be extended to some point where we're very likely going to get that hit to the 4th pivot or pull back to those. I mean, how many times we've seen 3 pivots line up and then 3 days later that comes back and, you know, swings down to find all of them again. It just happens, you know. So excellent stuff. And yeah, the short-term stuff has been fun. It's just let's really know that they're good trades. Let's, you know, pad the accounts with those. Those are trades that you can make a fair amount of money in a small amount of time, which that's kind of the allure of trading, is people think like, oh, I just make so much money and I don't have to do anything. It's like, well, I mean, there's a lot of patience and waiting that goes into those trades, but that's why they're good setups. So.
Yep, absolutely. So that's good stuff. We definitely have some great things coming up. We've all survived a summer. You know, Chris and I have been trading long enough, and I know many of you guys in the group have been trading for several years as well. And you know, and we've just survived a summer. You know, I love everything about summer. I love long days and lots of light and warm weather and sunshine and beaches. And then I don't love anything about summer trading. But I feel like this summer has been pretty decent. July was a little slow, but August has been surprisingly friendly, and we've had a decent summer. And now we're coming to the end of it. You know, as we said, middle of next week we start September, and it's go time from there. So, you know, also a reminder for anybody that has been kind of sitting on the sidelines, deciding if it's time to, you know, be part of a trade group or not. This is the best time to do it.
Yeah.
We've got some great short-term setups. We've got summer just about behind us, and we should have some good things coming up. So I'm for sure looking forward to it.
I agree.
But good stuff. Good stuff. What any parting words, Chris? Anything you guys want to say? Nice starter month for me. First month with real money. Good, Marcia. Good. Yeah, I know, and you have been. Marcia and I have done some one-on-one sessions together, and she just does a really good job thinking through trades, and has started with live money and is trading her live account and is in profit for the, you know, with the first time trading a live account. That's really excellent, and she's just keeping it nice and steady. So that's awesome to see. And Andrew, yeah, 4 consecutive pivots on that pound chef. That was awesome. That was a nice, quick little mover down. And it's still got 3 consecutive missed pivots hanging out back there, and those like to get hit too. So we're going to be keeping an eye on those for sure.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it was a good week. We had some good trades in the London session, and some good trades in the New York and kind of Asian session stuff as well. So we'll see if Jackson Hole causes some ruckus this year. May or may not. We'll see. But in the meantime, we don't really care. We're just going to trade our setups and be ready for anything that happens when it happens.
Yeah, the only, I mean, I'm only active. Do you have open trades, Jared? Do you have Euro Krone with me? Is that it, or do you have anything else?
Yep. I've got some Euro Krone, and I have a little bit on this pound dollar as well. So I've been trading this pound dollar, but that's it. And I've got a little dollar position, Euro dollar position running too. But yeah, so I've got those 3, and you know, pound and Euro dollar pretty small, and the Euro Krone's a little bit bigger. So.
Okay. Yeah, good deal. Yeah, Euro Krone's the only one I have active right now. Everything's been pretty short term for the week with the peso, pound Swiss. Euro Krone I keep kind of mapping out like, let's see where I'm going to add to this. But I don't want to add to a cluster that's going to get us in trouble. So I think that clean break below 9.23 and you know, just get this thing to kick us through to symmetry, get down to 9,000. Then we can really evaluate what we want to do with profits when we've got well over 2,000 pips in our hands, which I think is very doable. And so again, I'll continue to watch all those exotics. I really like those pairs. They do behave super well with technicals. They you know, use fibs, they use pivots, they use trend lines. I think the only thing that becomes tricky is traders need to know their margin. They need to know what they pay, and they also need to know that the spreads will be very wide during, you know, rollover periods and weekends, because if you're trying to protect these trades, you can't. Like, you really can't give yourself enough room on them unless you're literally 500 to 1,000 pips in profit. And even then, I wouldn't want to touch it. You know, the market could open on a Sunday or Monday, give it an hour, and the spreads go back to normal. You know, so to say, oh, I'm going to protect it on a Friday and then see you get knocked out by the spread. I mean, price, usually in the Forex market, price doesn't gap. It usually doesn't. And when it does, it recovers that gap. So anyway, it's just, this is a great market. It's a very efficient market. And, you know, I think, Jared, you and I have talked about this year that it's a very efficient market, like almost to the point of it's annoying us at times when it's like it won't break out. It just tests, and then finally it goes. And maybe you've lost patience in that trade. And so, again, the commitment that we need as traders mentally to stick with the direction, stick with our game plans, know that, look, if this trade can't take out this area or close above or below this level, you know, we probably should still give it a chance to work. But I'm right there with you when I know that if I put in a trade and I'm waiting for 5 days for a trade to move 20 pips, I don't want to hold the trade any longer. It's like, come on, man, you're either going to do this or you're not. And sometimes the market is won mentally over me. And again, those are things that we need to learn from. And just, it's not easy. There's always a work in progress, but a lot of it is also improving your own state of mind, improving off of your experience and knowing that I was right on the direction. My timing was off by a couple days, or my timing was off by a couple hours. And you make those little adjustments or remember those little experiences, and it can change those profits down the road when that same thing sets up again. So, but let's not lose sight of it. That's why I keep planning on, you know, the kiwi. I swear I'm gonna make that kiwi. Oh, I'm gonna make it pay. So we're gonna get it.
We'll get that darn thing. Yep. We'll get it.
Yep. So
anyway. No,
it's been good though.
Good stuff.
Fun week.
Yep. Yeah, it's been good stuff, and it's been a good week. And it's always, you know, I for one, and I know Chris definitely enjoys the time we all get together, talk about trades, plan some stuff, get into some stuff, get some pending orders going. It's always a good time. And guys, I think we'll do you know, another week of London sessions next week. I need to think about whether we'll just kind of make it public or turn it into, it's eventually headed to member only stuff, but maybe we'll make it public for a few more days going into next week so that everyone can kind of see a decent week of movement in the UK markets. But our live sessions, you know, US session and UK sessions every day, that's plenty of exposure for everybody to get a chance to, you know, hopefully find some trades and some stuff to get into. So we'll plan on that. And yeah, and otherwise, guys, have like a fantastic weekend. We have some good stuff coming up. We just keep plugging away at these markets. Remember, as we stay consistent, we just show up every day. We're going to have days where we make no pips and days where we make a lot of pips. And so, you know, it was a pretty slow and steady week. Let's see if we can get some nice big movements coming into next week. But the one thing that stays consistent is lots and lots of live sessions, lots of trade calls, lots of stuff. So free chat's booming, live sessions are going. Just as a reminder, everyone, last but not least, jump into that free chat. It's a great place to kind of have a central meeting point for all of us. Any questions you have about anything, if anybody needs a free trial to the trade group, just email us, support@daytradersfx.com. That's it for me, guys. Anything else, Chris, you want to say?
Nope. We'll get this this whole session's been recorded, so we'll get it edited up, get some good music going, and then we'll put it in the member dashboard, and we'll probably throw a bone out there for the free chat, and they can watch and enjoy and, you know, go on and have a good weekend. So good week, everybody, and we'll be back at it again next week. Wrap up August, put it behind us, and let's have a great September.
Monday morning, we'll have a live UK session Monday morning, and then we'll have, our course, our US weekly watch list session on Monday as well. So we'll see you guys twice on Monday and then a bunch of times the rest of the week. Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Take care, guys.
Yours to create.